welcome to Release 12i E-Business Tax Fundamentals Training course. My name is Kabir Khan and I'm a highly experienced Oracle consultant with over a decade of experience in managing Oracle ERP implementations with worldwide organizations. E-Business Tax provides a single point solution for managing entire transactional based taxes in Oracle E-Business Suite. It provides a self-service user interface for defining and maintaining country-specific tax rules and contents, and acts as a central repository for tax definition, application, and maintenance. So if we go to Oracle Applications, this is how a e-business tax homepage looks like. As you could see, this is the homepage that shows you the steps that's required to set up your entire tax configuration, and on top of that they've got separate tabs through which you can go to individual steps that are listed out here and complete the setups. The best part of Release 12 e-business tax module is that everything is at one place. Unlike in Release 11i, the tax setups used to be separate for account receivables and separate for account payables module. Then you have to separately set up the legal entities and operating units and so on. So it was quite a segregated setup in 11i, but as compared to Release 12 in e-business set, everything is at one place. So as you could see out here, if I simply expand this external dependencies out here, I can see that I can set up the tax options for my legal entities and the establishments which are underlying legal entities. For instance, it could be operating units or main establishment within a legal entity. A legal entity is nothing but your company definition and associated options, associated tax options with your company structure. In fact, if you look at these setups on the right hand side, it shows in the required column whether this step is required or not. If it is required, then you must complete these steps. Certain steps are conditionally required, means that you must set up those options based on the setups done for other steps. And then on the rightmost you could see this small arrow button out here that when you click, it will take you on to the form for each of these steps. So that's how everything is at one place. Now let me do one thing and just minimize this. Yeah. And now if you come to this place, as you could see out here, the whole setup starts with your legal entity tax setup. So when you set up your company, you can provide your tax details associated with that company. You can set up the tax authorities which maintain and implement tax system within your country. So as you could see, the second step is creating reporting and tax collection authorities. For example, Inland Revenue Department is the one that is responsible for the tax legislation and implementing tax within a specific country, or it could be Income Tax Department within a specific country. So you can basically go to this task and set up the tax authority. For example, in my case, I have set up for demonstration Inland Revenue for New Zealand as a tax authority. Once I set this up, then I can attach this tax authority to my legal establishments to say that okay, this Inland Revenue New Zealand is responsible for collecting and reporting taxes, and that's what then I go and attach it to my legal entity out here, the first step. Then I can also define conditions and rules for my third parties, which could include my customers and suppliers. I can also define the products that are supplied by supplier or the products that the company is selling. I can define rules and conditions around them, which could include rules around, as you could see, you have got something called as item category set you can use, or item categories you can use to define rules. Similarly, you can use party class category and class category codes to define rules and conditions to implement your tax system. Alright, then as far as the actual tax system is concerned, you can actually implement a tax system exactly how it is implemented in your specific country. For example, you can define a tax regime. You can associate a tax regime for one country. For instance, you can define a tax regime for USA as a whole country. Now, within the tax regime, you can define different kinds of taxes that are implemented, say state level taxes, county level taxes, and city level taxes. And then you can define tax rates associated with each of those jurisdictions. So you can demarcate each of those jurisdictions by defining the jurisdictions and attaching the tax code associated with them. And and just as it is implemented as a state, county, city tax and how it is derived, the same way you can set that up using EBS tax module. You can also define something called as recovery rates as part of your EBS tax, wherein if your if your inland revenue department allows you to recover the tax based on the value added services that you're providing as a part of your industry, the tax recovery rate you can apply to transactions to recover the tax paid to the third parties. So that also is a part of the tax configuration, as you could see here. Okay, now you can define fiscal classification codes associated with parties, transactions, or your inventory related products or non-inventory related products, and use those fiscal classification as a part of your tax rules to implement your complex tax system. All right, so if you go and click on the right hand side each of this item out here, it will take you on to the forms for the place where you can define these details. Now coming on the top side, this is the place. If I go in the tax configuration, that's the place you start defining your tax regimes, then start defining the taxes, and then the tax statuses, tax jurisdictions and tax rates associated with your entire tax system. In Oracle eBusiness Tax, such a process flow, what you define to set up your tax, is also called as a regime to rate process flow. Okay, and that you can start defining using this form. Similarly, as I was saying about the fiscal classification code and rules associated with your products, you can define it out here. As you could see, you can define product classification code, you can define product exceptions or exemptions for the taxes. Same thing holds good for the parties. You can define party classification code, and those classification codes or fiscal classification code can be used as a part of your tax rules setup. You can define your fiscal classification or transactional fiscal classification codes to demarcate your transactions, and then use those codes to define tax rules. For example, if there is a purchase transaction of involving a specific product and a specific customer, then apply a specific tax rate. Okay, similarly, if there is a sale transaction involving a specific product and a specific customer, then apply a different tax rate. So like that combination, you can make it by defining your fiscal classification codes, and then using this fiscal classification codes to define conditions and formulas, and attaching that to the tax rules, so that that specific tax will be applied dynamically at the time of transaction. Then you can define something called as defaults and controls. Defaults and controls are something that helps you to define country level defaults. For example, if I say New Zealand out here, then I can define my country level defaults associated with New Zealand. I can give my, like the first part shows you the inventory level defaults out here. The second part shows you the party tax profile default. So as soon as I go to define a tax for a party, then these defaults will get defaulted automatically as soon as I select the country New Zealand for a specific party. So it basically helps you to cut down your data entry time, but you can always override these defaults if you want. Okay. Then you can also have a facility in ABS Tax to integrate with your external service provider for calculating your taxes. For example, in US, an external service provider is a Vertex, which helps you to calculate your sales tax based on your complex tax structure on state, country, county, and city, plus any exemptions or exceptions that are defined in your tax system. So you can integrate the Oracle e-business tax with an external service provider such as Vertex or Q-Series. Then you've got something called as an advanced setup options. In advanced setup options, you can define your tax specific lookup codes. Then you can define your conditions, condition sets, formulae, and associate all this with your tax rules to finally determine the tax rate applicable to a specific transaction based on the party, product, um, or um, or your transaction uh, chosen at the time of making the transaction. So these are the things that are just at one place within EBS tax instead of getting it scattered across different modules, and that's what makes it very convenient for a user to maintain the entire tax system at one place. Now finally, you've got something called as a request out here. In request tab, Oracle has given you a number of standard requests through which you can basically go and run requests such as look at this. So standard requests for your tax reporting ledger and your tax transactional ledger. So as you could see out here, you've got reports such as financial tax register or some RX reports, and certain reports are configurable reports. You can basically configure the layout of the report using XML developer, and helps you to report your tax transactions. And again, it's very user friendly. So if you select a specific report, say financial tax register, and then you can select the language and select the parameters and submit the report in a very user friendly way. So these are basically a number of features that Oracle e-business tax offers. So my whole plan of this course is to take you through this module to start understanding the concepts of the tax, especially for people who don't have much background for taxation and financial accounting. This course will be very useful in the sense that I will explain you right from the basic concepts of tax, that how a tax is set up and calculated in EBS tax module. Then I will take you through a simple process flow for setting up a complete regime to rate flow in EBS tax. I will then take you through a next step of setting up tax with conditions using tax rules, how you can leverage your condition sets, determination sets, and product classification codes to determine tax dynamically based on the products or parties or transaction that have been chosen at runtime. So if I go back to my presentation, let me just take you through the course objectives. So by the end of this course, you will be able to understand the new features and benefit of Oracle e-business tax and understand the tax concepts. Set up and configure taxes using regime to rate flow. So we will be running the entire setup right from the basic regime setup to setting up the taxes, tax statuses, tax jurisdiction, tax rates, and tax rules. Then I will also let you understand how tax determination management works, how Oracle tax rule engine works in the background to derive a specific tax on a transaction. I will also tell you how to manage the tax profile for legal entity, operating units, your third party such as suppliers and customers. I don't know if you have already got a chance to have a look at your customers or suppliers profile, wherein you've got a place to set up the tax profile of suppliers and customers. That's the place you actually go and attach the tax information. Most of us are familiar with those forms, but we actually don't go into that forms and understand many of the fields that are out there. A number of fields are the ones that you can leverage from EBS tax to default over there, and I will take you through those forms to let you understand how you can set up tax profiles for your suppliers and customers. Finally, once we have set up your entire tax regime to rate flow, we will also set up and apply tax rules and understand their application using different business scenarios. And finally, we will test the taxes and apply them onto the transaction to see whether our taxes and the rules that we have made are actually working on the transactions or not. And we will also understand the accounting in relation to those taxes. For example, payables invoices have got separate accounting in relation to the tax, whereas receivables invoice have got separate accounting. Similarly, GL has got separate accounting in relation to the taxes that are applied on the lines. And last but not the least, we will also explore a couple of standard tax reports, how you can run those standard tax reports, what are the standard tax reports are available. We had a brief look at those standard reports just a while ago, but we will also run those reports to see how the parameter works, how the output looks like based on your tax transaction. And during all this while, I will not only set up the taxes part, but I will tell you how to use a standard tool that Oracle has provided, which is called as Oracle Tax Simulator, to simulate your tax setup and to test whether it is working or not. And I'm pretty sure it will be a very interesting course all along. And I I would say that at the end of the course, you will be in much better position to understand and implement Oracle e-business tax module in a real life Oracle implementation.